Fantastic. Thank you, Grant. And hopefully you can see my screen just to confirm.
Slides look perfect.
Fantastic. So in this segment, we like to talk to really two elements. Firstly, some of the industry updates that are going on outside of our sort of core ERP system, but some of the government-related aspects that are going to impact us, that be that the compliance element, such as single touch payroll, which we'll be talking about. And secondly, we'd like to talk about the roadmap around both MYOB Advanced and also Acumatica in terms of upcoming features. In terms of our industry updates, of course, for a lot of us, the upcoming changes around single touch payroll with phase 2 release in Australia will be a point of note. The changes to single touch payroll is really about streamlining the reporting obligations. And a big part of this is trying to remove the need for all the additional manual reporting that we had, particularly with other government agencies. STP Phase 2 is really about improving that baseline data set that's being sent to the ATO, just to reduce the amount of manual additional work that our payroll teams are having to do. Now, STP Phase 2 was released with the 1st of January 2022 deadline, of course, for employees. Don't look at your calendar with too much urgency, because MYOB has secured deferrals, extending that compliance deadline to the 1st of July 2022. But of course, that is coming up quite soon. Now, in terms of what's changing, these 4 key elements on the slide are points of particular note. Tax file number declarations will now be submitted and included within the STP report itself. So there'll be no need for a separate declaration process. Employee separation certificates, again, will now be provided via STP reporting as to the reason why an employee has left the business. Lump sum e-payments will again now be included within the STP reporting, and no need for separate lump sum e-letters to be provided. And now child support, garnishes and deductions will be included in the STP reporting, meaning that there'll be no need to provide separate advice to the child support registrar. Some additional changes as a part of that is, firstly, the employment type will be mandated under the new single touch payroll phase 2. So we'll need to declare whether employees are full-time, part-time or casual, and there'll be some new categories as well that will be introduced, such as volunteers. Country codes will be added for those that have got employees working out of country. And a big one here being the disaggregation of gross. Previously, our STP reporting has just been the gross sum, whereas now we need to issue itemized component level figures. So separate figures for salary sacrifice, overtime, paid leave, for example, in that those all need to be individually itemized. It's a big breadth of changes that we're seeing with this, but for a lot of organizations, it should be a fairly simple process where we're just essentially updating the reporting categories to use that new framework. There will be a white paper that MYOB will be issuing to support you along that. A lot of it is just mapping. For some of us, there might actually be a need to change or adjust our pay item structures. For example, if you're currently aggregating allowances and overtime in a single pay item, then you'll need to separate those into distinct pay items to meet the STP Phase 2 compliance requirements. So just be aware of that. We do encourage you to reach out to your partner to review these requirements. In terms of the next steps, the support for STP Phase 2 has actually been out with some preview releases. There've been some minor changes as MYOB has been going through their testing with the ATO. And we're expecting a new update to come out shortly, which will be 2021.1.403. All clients will be upgraded to that STP2 supported version between February and June, depending upon the cohort that you're currently in with your MYOB Advanced upgrades. If you're not sure which cohort you're in and where you'll be placed in terms of that upgrade, again, just reach out to your support or your partner support for assistance with that. The upgrade itself will not automatically enable STP Phase 2. You just need to be aware of that. You will remain on the current version of STP until you've actually done your transition, until you've changed your mapping, completed the pieces of work that you need to do, and then enable STP Phase 2. Just contact your partner to ensure that that transition is undertaken once your upgrade is completed. Another change that we've seen recently is the introduction of the payment times reporting scheme. Of course, this was introduced the 1st of January last year, but for some of us, we might be changing revenue brackets. So it might be that this now applies to you where it hadn't previously. The revenue line there is where your revenues are over 100 million. If you've made that jump from, you know, the high tens to the 100 million, congratulations, firstly. But just be aware that you have hit that payments time reporting scheme, reporting obligation requirement. That PTRS is actually supported in any current advanced release as a customization. Basically, it's a requirement to provide transparency around how large businesses are paying smaller organizations in terms of payment performance. Another change we've seen recently is particularly within the construction industry and some requirements around the Security of Payment Act reporting. Within Australia, again, it is a state-based legislation, but if you are within the construction industry, you most likely have to be reporting under these requirements. In essence, SOPA is a way of delivering a more secure system of contract payments where the contractor submits a payment claim invoice to you. You have the option of either agreeing with that payment claim and paying the full claimed amount on the requested due date or before, or if you don't agree to that claim, in essence, sending the claimant a payment schedule, which describes what you're willing to pay, when you're willing to pay it, and why that differs from the claim that the contractor has made on you. So this is a new feature that's supported in 2021.1 as a customization. In essence, it lets you create a payment schedule report through the bills and adjustments screen. If a contractor submits a payment claim, you can then just send them this payment schedule report to fulfill your obligations. If that's a requirement that you have within your organization, just reach out to your partner support for assistance in getting that customization applied. Of course, e-invoicing is another area that we're seeing significant strides in over the last few years. It's particularly being focused on within the areas of government and suppliers to government. There are a number of accredited service providers with which you can now undertake e-invoicing using that PPOL delivery network. If you currently are dealing with an EDI van, they're possibly the quickest path to market in terms of e-invoicing, but there are some other alternatives as well that provide integration into MYOB Advanced. So reach out to your EDI provider or reach out to your partner support or account management team, and they can assist you with any e-invoicing requirements that you have. So moving on now, just to talk a little bit about the MYOB Advanced Roadmap. And we do get a little bit of information from Val, of course, in terms of this. And we've seen a lot of changes in 2021.1. A huge amount of functioning has been released, particularly in some of the later service packs and hot fixes that have focused on the payroll features. So the last 4 bullet points there against the payroll and workforce management element are subsequent releases to the initial 2021.1 release. We've seen the changes to support STP Phase 2, some significant enhancements around the pay details screen, addition of a new entitlement balances report, and some, fortunately, some great enhanced API support as well within the payroll module. Of course, 2021.1 is a major release, 177 pages of lovely bedtime reading if you're so inclined. In terms of what's coming next, we tend to look towards the Acumatica world. MYOB Advanced, of course, is an OEM version of Acumatica, which they localize and then add other supported modules and elements to wrap it together into, a larger business management system. But of course, there's a very tight tie between MYOB and Acumatica. Just in terms of some recent research sort of news, Nucleus Research has recently announced Acumatica as a usability leader, which is great. I'm not sure all of us can agree that one of the great benefits of MYOB Advanced is just that user friendliness, the ease by which our users take it up. And of course, IDC have also announced Acumatica as a leader in the worldwide SaaS space for the medium-sized mid-market. In terms of Acumatica releases, back in the back half of 2021, Acumatica released the 2021 R2 release. That was released in September. It came with 3 core areas of focus. First one being seamless personalization, boosting growth with best-in-class functionality, and again, a focus on the ISV and ecosystem. In terms of features, we haven't seen 2021 R2 rolled up into the MYOB Advanced feature set yet. We will see 2021 R2 being delivered as a part of future MYOB Advanced releases this year. And there's some great functionality that we're seeing introduced in that. In particular, just to call out at a platform level, the start of the multi-base currency support. At this stage, it's just core general ledger, AP, and AR modules that are supported. But the fact that you will be able to have a single MYOB Advanced tenant with a Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar companies, as well as others, is a great, fantastic change that we're all looking forward to, particularly those of us, of course, that are working cross-country. Some great changes around usability, some significant enhancements around the workflow engine and business events as well, and a lot of changes around sort of the operational elements, so distribution and commerce, field service, manufacturing, things such as the dead stock reporting, for example, visual production schedules in manufacturing, a lot of changes there. Of course, Acumatica have also just announced the 2022 R1 release, which was released at the Acumatica Summit that was held in Las Vegas. Yes, they are back to in-person events. And of course, this is focused on 3 sort of core pillars, being working smarter on the go, a focus on those of us that are working across multiple markets, and going deep with industry-leading capabilities. In terms of functionality, the enhancements, and there's a few points here, but some great changes around, again, multi-country, multi-currency support in the reporting space, starting to really build out those artificial intelligence and machine learning features to spot anomalies and validate GL transactions before release. It's a really interesting piece of work that they're doing, particularly around some of these areas of fraud detection and some of those elements that are important to all of us. Some big changes around the platform, in particular, a brand new mobile experience and user interface. It's a huge change around the mobile piece. Really looking forward to seeing that coming into the product. And some enhancements around emailing. In terms of distribution and commerce, some big changes around the introduction of blanket sales orders, which will benefit those of us that have longer term customer sales agreements, and of course, a new native Amazon e-commerce connector, which again is an exciting piece of work that they're doing for those of us that are starting to really focus on that omnichannel experience with our clients. Field service, manufacturing, lots of additional changes in those modules as well. In terms of when this is coming to MYOB Advanced, just keep post us, it's soon to be announced. MYOB are working on their roadmaps when they release these features based on their new development cycles. Of course, there has been some changes around their go-to-market. We've seen the changes last year in terms of their new cohort strategy, and they changed the release cycles around that. So the approach in terms of major releases versus minor releases, how this plays out, will really be fine-tuned, I expect, over the next 12 months. But like you, looking forward to seeing this functionality coming soon. And with that, I will hand back to you, Grant.